Go ahead. Hello, everybody. I am your host, Felipe, and you're listening to the Total Basis Podcast. And with me, as always, is Sean Flannery. Sean, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm ready for the trade deadline to really swing in like hot and heavy. But here we are on July 31st, which would normally be like the deadline day. But then they pushed it back to August 1st. But now this year it's August 2nd. So really we're kind of in that limbo stage of the trade deadline. Maybe while we record right now, like maybe a trade will drop. Wouldn't that be fun?
That's what I'm hoping. But maybe it won't be so bad. Maybe it will be. There's no more waiver wire deadline anymore. So this is it. But like you said, maybe we'll get something juicy right now. Maybe Juan Soto will get traded this morning. Oh, but there's a reason why they extended to August 2nd. Nobody wants to work on a Sunday, man. Not even Major League Baseball.
Well, it's like I remember that they did it last year because August 1st was on a Sunday, but now it's like August 1st is a Monday. So why is it on the 2nd? I don't get it.
They need that extra day. They need that extra business day.
Speaking of waiver trades, I had totally forgotten that Justin Verlander's trade to the Astros was done at the end of August, beginning of September, and it was a waiver wire trade. I had completely forgotten about that.
Yeah, they allow, if I remember correctly, they allowed the Houston Astros to get Justin Verlander a little bit past the deadline or some crap like that. And there's interesting things happening that year. Remember, this is the 2017 Astros, right? So if you talk about just a lot of weird things happening that year, going the Houston Astros way, I don't even know where to start, because now we're getting to that territory where is this scripted like wrestling? And you get to these conspiracy theories, like the Major League Baseball really want the Houston Astros to win. Did someone owe a favor to the Houston Astros organization? There was a Sports Illustrated cover, like with George Springer on the cover. The Houston Astros will be 2017 champions. And then the garbage can thing, and who knew what and when and how and why were they allowed to do that? Why wasn't rules enforced? And then to top it off, and remember, this was after the Astros players were complaining that the front office has not done enough to bolster their roster. And that's the topic of conversation for today, right?
Bolstering rosters.
Bolstering, well, not just, but it's the whole idea, like these trades, they are there to give the team a boost for championship contention, for those playoff aspirations. And a lot of times we see teams just like, no, we cannot give away so many prospects because we need to hoard these prospects to ourselves because no one can have them. That's too high of a price to get some of these premier players to help us in the run. I mean, fuck it. Let's just say it. The Yankees. I mean, the Yankees have had a pretty decent roster for championship contention ever since Aaron Judge has come onto his own, and they've surrounded him with a lot of really good players. It's always a really good team. But it seems like they always fall short at the trade deadline because they're very hesitant to trade away these prospects, which,
hey, they traded a haul for Joey Gallo. I had loved that return for Texas. And we know how that went. So
I didn't think it was anything too big of a deal. It was a decent trade, but come on, Glenn Otto.
Josh Smith.
I like Glenn Otto, but not that much. Like, oh man, I can't believe they traded Glenn Otto for Joey Gallo. What were they thinking? Oh no, he's gonna be the next Jeff Bagwell or the next Greg Maddux or whatever. No, it's Glenn Otto. You say his name the same backwards and forwards, just the way he pitches too. That's the way he gets hit up and lit up every time he's on the mound.
Ezekiel Duran was a part of that trade. Main part of that infield. Josh Smith. Just saying.
It's an okay deal. I mean, then you got the White Sox who refused to trade Dane Dunning for Lance Lynn one year, and then they went ahead and did it anyway in the offseason. So, well, that would have helped out when we were in our playoff run in 2020. And look at us, we can't even stay. We're struggling. The White Sox are struggling to get to 500, and we don't know what's going to happen because now the Guardians look good and the Twins are kind of faltering. But
I was going to say, is there anyone that really looks good in that division?
I would say the Guardians a little bit.
I mean, they do. They're my favorite. Even though I didn't believe in them really at the beginning of the year.
Nobody believed in the Guardians.
But it's like it was one of those, like, once they made the extensions, I was like, okay, maybe they're not giving up. I worry about, like, because apparently they've taken offers on the likes of Shane Bieber and Zach Plesac. Like, do they really want to win? Like that's what I'm worried about. Is do they really want to win, or are they just backing into the division lead right now just because everybody else is meh?
And that's what pisses me off about the White Sox is they had a chance to really add depth, get some more pitchers in the offseason. Yeah, White Sox fans will tell me, well, they're already a top 10 team in payroll. It doesn't matter. It's fine, but we could see the holes in this lineup, in this roster, 1 through 26. You need more players. You can't keep trusting on your scrub farm system to bail you out because you don't have a farm system. And here we are. Now we're the scrappy cash-strapped Twins and Guardians are whooping our asses right now. The only solace I take is a lot of these guys are not healthy. They're hurt. I get it, but they got exposed. They have no depth. They cannot get away with the stuff they got away with last year. Because what do we say in the offseason? This division got a little bit better. You can't it's not going to be a cakewalk like last year. And that's exactly what's happening. And Tony La Russa is getting exposed as well. This team is so frustrating. And I think I saw that I used that term in the podcast league. And like, this team is so damn frustrating. And then the next day I see Ricky Velasquez using that word on his post for the White Sox. This team is so frustrating. So yeah, the White Sox fans are now finally starting to see things my way. A couple of years too late. But that's it. That's what the trades are for. They're supposed to get you ready for that playoff run. And I had another example. The Braves, we shit on the Braves here in this podcast and on Vincent Henry's podcast over at Dong City. We crap on them every single year. And then the one year that they actually go out and make these big trades, I wouldn't call them big trades, but there were necessary trades that they needed to make. They win a championship. And to go back to our 2017 example with Justin Verlander, trash cans or no trash cans or whatever, the Astros front office did what they had to do. Actually, yeah, they literally did that. They're the ones who implemented that plan for the trash cans, right? But they went out, they made the bold move of getting Justin Verlander, and that was their de facto ace for the rest of the year and for the rest of that World Series contention, the World Series window. And then I think they defeated the Yankees as well, right, in the ALCS.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is what it is, man. I mean, you could blame it on the cheating scandal. I mean, they already got punished for it. They're not going to take away their championship. That the flags fly forever. The Yankees had plenty of opportunities to bolster lineup, and I mean, the Nationals were already accusing the Astros in 2019 of their sign stealing, and that they had to adjust. And not a single home team won a playoff game, a World Series game that year. So. Anyway, I digress. I mean, bottom line is, this is the time of year where your front office has to nut up or shut up, right?
Yeah.
So excuses are over. I don't want to hear excuses. This is your chance to do something. But at any rate, let's get going. Let's talk about these trades that happened. And we start out with the Yankees. They got their man and Andrew Benintendi. Really good outfield now. It was a good outfield to begin with. And now you add that third, fourth, fifth outfielder, Andrew Benintendi, who's having a pretty good year, high contact rate guy. This is exactly what the Yankees have been trying to do with their lineup. They, as you know, Sean, they always had these big boppers with the big slugging percentages and the big strikeout rates. And Benintendi's the complete opposite of that, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely, for sure. He's played the last few games. I think they've been batting him lead off the very first game. And then 6th, 3rd, and 5th. So I think they're trying to figure out where exactly they want to plug him in that lineup. I would assume, I don't know, I'd probably switch him and Rizzo. I'd bat him behind LeMahieu and Judge. Those guys are getting on base. Well, I mean, Judge isn't just getting on base. He's rounding the bases basically every time he steps to the plate. But definitely Benintendi behind Judge with how much he's going to start getting pitched around, how much he gets on base. I think that'd be a good spot for him. And I know Vince over from Dong City is very, very happy. So,
oh yeah, I mean, all Yankee fans should be happy. They're finally making a trade that matters, and it looks like they didn't have to give up on anyone. I mean, they had Chandler Champlain, TJ Sycamore, and Beck Way, who I'm this close to calling him Becky Wah. Is there anybody in particular you want to discuss here?
I mean, I definitely really like Sakama or Sakama, however you pronounce the name. I don't want to butcher it, but
Sakama.
Yeah,
Or
he was
there's two
definitely
Ks.
Recovering from Tommy John, missed all of 20 and 21 with the COVID, but he's put up great numbers so far in low A and high A between 2019 and this year. The Royals definitely, I mean, we have to realize that this is Andrew Benintendi, and yes, he's having a great year, but he's not going to command the top 5 or really even top 10 prospect as a rental outfielder, where there's plenty of options that teams can trade for. And while they probably could have gotten somebody in the top 10, that would have been more of a 1-for-1 deal. I think Kansas City kind of took the quantity over quality here. Basically throwing the 3 darts at one time instead of just trying to pinpoint one dart. But I think Sycamore could be a really good pitcher for them as well. And all of these guys, they're not like 18, 19 years old and 5 years away. They should be able to move pretty quickly.
Yeah, Sycamore's already 24 years old.
Yeah.
Beck Way, is my computer can act right. It's so 22. Like you said, that these are not teenagers. Oh, yeah, and Champlain is 23 years old. Sycamore is probably the jewel of this trade, I guess. Lefty, 24-year-old, like we mentioned, recovering from Tommy John surgery. 2022 report from Fangraphs. Decent fastball, slider is also decent. Changeup is a work in progress. Command is where the upside's at. So, and he's having, like you mentioned, a great year with the high strikeouts. Very good control there. So that seems to be the prize of this. And then you got a guy like let's go with Beck Way, who's 22 years old, big right-hander. How okay, so Sycamore is the short guy, but then you got these two guys. Beck Way is 6'4", 200 pounds. Champlain 6'5", 220. So yeah, they got some big boys here. And then Sycamore, like I think we mentioned this last year too. We mentioned it every show. It seems like the little guys always have the command, and the big guys are always a work in progress. So in 2020, let me start over. Sycamore was the 13th ranked prospect for the Yankees, I guess.
Yeah, Way came in at 19th according to Fangraphs.
And Way, yeah, this is all according to Fangraphs. With the ETA of 2024, again, decent fastball, slider work in progress, but it could also be decent changeup, also work in progress. And the command is the opposite. It's a low upside, and it's still a work in progress. And so far in high A, the strikeouts are not there like they were in 2021. The walks are a little bit better at 3.24 walk per 9. So I guess he's sacrificing the strikeout so he can show some of that control. Even the ground ball rate has gone down. So it seems like he is I don't know what he's trying to do there. It seems like maybe he's dropping some velo and that's he's dropping that velo on that fastball so he could have more command of that pitch, maybe. Or maybe the slider is he's tinkering with the slider a little bit so he can decrease his walk rate. That's what it looks like to me. You have anything else to add on Beck Way?
Yeah, he's had a really solid month of July leading up to that trade as well. His last start as a Yankee, he threw 6 hitless innings, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. So yeah, probably just a guy who's finally coming into his own. And in every single start he made in July, he went at least 6 innings, which is something you really don't see that much, especially in the lower minors where these guys consistently go, over 5 innings. Like even in Double-A, like I know it was the Rays when I saw him, but like the starter would go like 3 1/3, and then they'd bring in a reliever who went 2 1/3, and then it was just kind of mishmashed. So for guys to go, consistently 6 innings in the minors is something kind of a sign of maturity. And you look at his inning count, Beck Ways, and you're like, okay, so he's like already building up that arm strength, which really to me is the number one thing that takes kind of a long time in the minors to do, because you either do so well that they move you so quickly and then you get to the majors, but your arm strength's only built up to 115 and 120 innings, and you find yourself kind of where Nestor Cortez is now for the Yankees, where they're really going to have to monitor his innings going down the stretch here. But yeah, a nice little return for Kansas City for sure.
And then the last guy, Chandler Champlain, who was drafted last year in the 2021 draft, 9th round pick, but so far in his first professional year in 2022, It's 15 starts already, 73 innings pitched, decent, very good strikeout per nine, actually 11.5, and a walk rate of 2.33. So there was a certain archetype that the Royals were going after in this trade. Again, Champlain 6'5", 220. Yep. There was a certain archetype that the Royals were going after with these guys had to show that they had control and potential for high strikeouts. So which brings us to our next topic of conversation. Let's talk about it. Somebody asked, actually Sean, with a W, Sean Pence, asked a while back ago in the Baseball Life Facebook group, Brady Singer's really coming into his own as a starter. Be interesting to see which staff he eventually anchors.
Okay, so you sent me that before the show and I read it. I did not read the second sentence. I just realized what the second sentence was.
Honestly, I completely forgot, but it was just a great way to, segue from the Royals into Brady Singer, who's, we talk about the Royals before. It seems like a little bit too much about the Royals, but this is the staff that had all these first round picks. They invested so much draft capital on a lot of these pitchers. Asa Lacy, Daniel Lynch, Brad Keller. I don't know if Brad Keller's a first round, but Brad Keller was supposed to be a thing. Chris Bubich. Not Brad Keller. Where is he? Brad Keller's an 8th rounder, but Bubich is a first rounder. They love their first round pitchers so much that they brought back Zach Greinke. But yeah,
Daniel Lynch was another one, first rounder.
Yeah, Jackson Cower, another first rounder. So they try to bolster that pitching staff. They tried to go that route, and it has come with very mixed results. But Brady Singer, who may have been the best of the bunch this entire time, is looking like he's coming onto his own. He's having a really surprisingly good year. I mean, he's been up and down on my radar, it seems like, and it looks like this might be Brady Singer time so far. The strikeout rate has gone up a little bit, but the control is just immaculate this year. Impeccable. Is that what I was trying to say? Immaculable. Say that 20 times fast. But yeah, walk rate went from being in the high 3s to the low 2s, and the walk per nine, I should say. And everything about him, ERA and all his advanced ERAs are fantastic. If he keeps pitching this way, he's gonna break his Fangraphs WAR career high of 2.0 last year. He's already at 1.5. So if he keeps pitching this way for the rest of the season, he might be at exactly 3.0, maybe 3.1, 3.2.
Yeah, he's made 13 starts so far, 84 innings. Probably ends the year around 150. So if he's anywhere between 2.5 and 3 over 150 innings, that's pretty solid.
And let's see what and this is all coming with a very low fastball velocity, but the sinker, he's gotten 0.2 of a mile per hour better, even though it's in the low 90s as well. What's his pitch usage? Anything about that?
Sinker slider change. I was looking at that. I was thinking maybe there's been some huge pitch mix change. No, but not really. It's, sinker slider change as it's always been.
Well, the changeup maybe has gone a little higher.
Yeah, the changeup has been more successful in July, for sure. Granted, it does look like he may be getting a little lucky with the changeup in terms of the results, but the slider, 40% whiff rate in July. The sinker isn't getting crushed. It's just, all sinkers get hit. That's the idea behind throwing the sinkers. And you're not really throwing a sinker to get whiffs, but he's keeping it kind of controlled off the sinker. So
the plate discipline has not changed much either. I mean, the guys are still not. He doesn't induce a lot of swings.
Yeah,
contact rate's about the same. Swinging strike rate's about the same. Call strikes plus whiff. I got it right finally.
There you go.
It's still in the high. It's still in the low 30%. I mean, I think anything above 30% is pretty damn good. Yep. So I guess it has to be the batted ball. No, line drive rate's slower than last year. That's the one thing I'm noticing.
And it's weird is that these last two starts where he has, 12 strikeouts and 10 strikeouts, it's like I was thinking, oh, maybe he faced like really bad teams. No, he went up against the Rays and the Yankees.
That's right.
And the 3 starts before that which were also good starts. They just weren't double-digit strikeouts or anything. Those were the starts against the Tigers and the Guardians and the Tigers again. So it's been very interesting to see how well he's done in July, especially those last 2 starts against, premier teams of the American League.
And this is one that drives me crazy because I don't see any big changes. I mean, I guess the next thing would be to look at his StatCast, where he's throwing these pitches, the pitch release points and all that, and where the vertical inches on the drop and the horizontal and all that, because everything looks the same to me. So I mean, when you see a guy like that who's been basically, his numbers have gone unchanged. Maybe the change up is the big difference because it's gone up 3% or something like that, or maybe 5% at this point. But when you see pretty much unchanged numbers in terms of production and all that other stuff on the Fangraphs page, what are you seeing on your end in terms of how pitchers have improved, or maybe sometimes in some cases not improved? What's your next step on your evaluation there?
I mean, I'm looking at it, and it's like the command of the changeup seems like it's improved a little bit. He's really tightened where the slider goes. He's consistently burying it down and away to righties. The sinker is literally right in the middle of the zone on most pitches. I'm possibly here. I'm thinking like I'd have to go and look at release points, like you said. But I wonder if there's a tunneling thing going here with the sinker and the slider. He's getting them to look more like each other and just kind of throwing guys off there. But the sinker not getting hit as hard as it did last year in terms of run value. It was plus 11 on the sinker last year, and this year he's right at 0. So it's one of those. The fact that the sinker isn't getting crushed kind of helps the rest of the profile. So
yeah, because that is his main pitch.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Well, and as far as where is he going to be pitching next? Yeah, he's arbitration eligible next year. So he's finally coming into his arbitration years. And
I could see him getting traded at the deadline next year, especially with how we saw the returns that Jose Barrios and Luis Castillo have gotten now. So,
well, I gotta ask, man, wouldn't it be more beneficial for the Royals to finally have one decent pitcher be signed long term? I know that's not a really good idea to sign these pitchers long terms, but for the Royals who have struggled to develop pitchers, despite the fact that they have a high investment rate in terms of how much they spend at the draft, wouldn't it be to their benefit to have that anchor past 2026 and just build the rotation up around him? Because otherwise you're just starting over. Now we just talked about the 3 guys they got. I mean, they're pretty good, but we don't know what they can be. You know, the upside is minimal. It's not like they're going to be. They got 3 aces in return, but it's all a crapshoot. They drafted all these first rounders because they thought they were going to get a bunch of aces, and we're talking about one guy who's finally is dependable enough, and he's not even that. Lightning, explosive or whatever. He's not that flashy. Thank you so much. He's not that flashy. So I gotta ask, wouldn't it be better for the Royals to sign him long term? Or
I mean, I think at his age, he's already 25, 26.
Yeah, they're maturing, man. He's maturing. Pitchers as they get older are better. We thought we established that.
I think they're just too far away. Like, I think it's more than just his 3 years of arbitration. And then their two most recent first round picks, Asa Lacy and Frank Mazzucato, who was kind of considered a reach by most I think he went number 7 last year. Both of them have struggled immensely to start their professional careers. So maybe if you trade Singer, you can get, a team's top pitching prospect who is somewhere in the top 100, who's, a little bit more in line with their potential contending window, like 4 to 5 years away rather than the next 1 to 3.
Well, the Royals are perpetually 4 or 5 years away. I mean, this is just.
It's like I feel like it's going to be like the old Royals where that core finally, because they were together for like the last 2 years where they were great. I mean, 2-3 years with Hosmer, Gordon, Moustakas.
Yeah.
I mean, that was 14, 15, and I think there were still some there for 16.
And a lot of people gave up on that core. They were ready to move those guys. A lot of Royals fans were ready to give up on those guys, and then boom, they
were never going to afford them, and they were never going to afford them. I mean, and that
Alex Gordon was the exception.
Yeah, Alex Gordon was like, yeah, we can't let this guy go. I always find that hilarious, but
he had a sharp decline anyway. So
yep.
But so the other guys, Hosmer, Moustakas was okay when he's healthy.
Yeah, he's been hurt a bunch. Lorenzo Cain's already gone.
Yeah, I did not. I Cub fans wanted him. Like, no, you don't. And for a while,
Mets fans wanted him. Oh my God, don't know. That was annoying.
Well, for a little bit, it looked like that would have been the right move to make. But you saw what happened to him. You never heard from him ever again.
And I told people, I said, center fielders generally age like milk. And
Jackie Bradley Jr. is another
when Lorenzo Cain left Kansas City in 2017, he was entering his age 32 season. And yeah, he was, cut this year by Milwaukee. What was his last 5 years in Milwaukee? He was 4% below league average, 96 WRC plus. He had 8.4 WAR over those 5 years. 6.1 of them came in that very first year in Milwaukee.
Yep.
Where he was a 6-win player, 10 home runs, 30 stolen bases. But yeah, after 2020, he was done.
Yeah, I think he had to walk away because of the pandemic. And he basically went the Ian Desmond route.
Yeah, because he had to do it for his family. I remember he played 5 games, and then he came back in 21, was injured, and then I think the Royals waited, or not the Royals, the Brewers.
Yeah,
I think he had just reached like his 10-year service time this year before they released him, so he could get his full pension.
Wow.
Even though he had a giant contract, so
that's right.
Not really one of those guys that's getting by on the skin of his pension. So,
every penny counts, man. Every penny counts. All right, let's move on to another trade. This was the opposite, and yeah, in the podcast league, we have a Mets fan and a Yankees fan, and they were kind of chirping at each other. As the Yankees fan, I'm not gonna mention names. You could probably figure out.
We'll let everybody do their guessing.
You could probably guess who's been chirping. But yeah, of course, the Yankee fan is celebrating that the Yankee trade was a million times better than the Mets trade, as the Mets get Tyler Naquin and Philip Deal. What's the deal?
Hey, as Andrew said in our Mets chat, when news of this broke, he said, "Hey, it's just a small deal. The bigger one's coming later. This was just the small one."
Your guy Daniel is on the chat. He says that he is also available for arbitration next year.
Goes into the school board. I would like to file for arbitration, please. And you just have your attorney step up and say, this man is definitely worth a $6,000 raise.
Give it to him. And then he's also mentioning, you heard of MAGA, right? Well, this is MAGA. Make the Royals great again. All this talk about the Royals. Well, not if they keep rebuilding every 2 years, right? So anyway, Phil Deal and Tyler Naquin, they go to the Mets. The Reds get Jose Acuna and Hector Rodriguez. I have Phil Deal up first. I guess he's the pitcher, lefty, 28-year-old. I don't know if there's anything to talk about, but I guess he was a reliever for most of last year in AAA for the Reds, and he's really not having a good time this year. Where is he now?
He was in AAA at the time of the trade.
Okay,
mainly one of those just lefty specialists. I think this year and last year at AAA with the Reds, he was like 30% plus strikeout percentage against lefties. So kind of one of those guys that the Mets can target. And, really the only lefty right now in their bullpen is Joey Rodriguez, who's more of really a crossover guy. His best pitch is a changeup. And I believe Deals is the slider. So kind of more of a traditional lefty pitcher here.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to pinpoint him. Okay, just pitch type, right?
Yeah,
fastball, slider, and that's it. How fast does he throw it? If my computer can cooperate with me, I can get that information. Going to pitch info, 91 mile per hour is the average. That's going to pitch.
Hey, if you are ever going to raise a baseball player, make sure you raise them as a lefty throwing person. They will get infinite chances. I mean, they literally get all the chances in the world. You could be terrible and you will still be allowed a chance to pitch in the majors.
Phil Deal, 28 years old, kind of a late bloomer there. So here we go. And then, of course, the reason that the Mets made this trade was to get Tyler Naquin, who every time I feel like that's it, he's done, he's over with. 31 years old now.
That freaked me out when I realized Tyler Naquin was 31.
Yeah, man. It's been in the league forever.
I felt like it was just a couple of years ago that like he was called up and like him and Bradley Zimmer were like the speedsters. They were going to do great things. And
Naquin a speedster. I don't know about them. Listen, if he's fast, he's not stolen base fast. I could deduce that much. But we know we kind of have an idea who Taylor Naquin is. He's always going to strike out a lot. Doesn't take a lot of walks. He's never had a double-digit walk rate in his career. 97 WRC plus so far this season. But he's like a fourth or fifth outfielder. This is clearly a depth move to just add more depth to that lineup.
Yeah, especially kind of, it was the thing that was confusing to me was this trade after the Vogelbach acquisition, which I like the Vogelbach acquisition. He's done great so far as the Met too, especially because Naquin kind of fills that same role of the only faces righties, can't hit lefties. And it's I had to put Ken Rosenthal in his place on Twitter after the time of this trade because he said, "Oh, Tyler Naquin can platoon with Mark Canha," and I immediately was like, "This is bullshit." And Mark Canha's for his career and especially this year, much better versus right-handed pitching than he is lefties. Right after I sent that tweet, Ken Rosenthal, more like a depth move. Mark Canha has been great against right-handed pitching this year. Expect Naquin just to fill in, play every fifth day or something like that. I'm like, what in the world is going on here?
No hat tip for you, man. Hat tip for you.
Yeah, this was more of a getting Travis Jankowski off the roster.
Yeah.
So Jankowski had filled that little fourth, fifth outfielder role. Naquin's not as fast, but he's also a much better bat against, right-handed pitching off the bench. He's had, the last few years against righties, very good numbers. So helps fill in a little bit. Never go wrong with depth. Before the Mets acquired Cespedes in 15, they acquired Kelly Johnson and Juan Uribe. So I guess the two depth moves are done. Let's wait for the crazy trade, hopefully coming through here in the next few days.
And then before we move on to the pieces that the Reds got, any chance that the Mets are going to acquire Juan Soto?
I think that ship sailed.
You don't want Juan Soto at all?
I do. I'm just they're not going to do it.
They don't have enough big names, or is it? I
don't think. I think the Padres fit what the Nationals want much more.
Yeah, I'm surprised the Dodgers are losing out to the Padres. Usually, it's the Dodgers beating out the Padres in every trade, like last year, where apparently they didn't want to trade Luis Campusano to the Nationals. Yeah, wouldn't that be crazy if the Nationals are once again using the Padres to leverage against the Dodgers all along?
You see, that's the thing is the Dodgers have been really quiet in all of this.
They were quiet last year too.
And they were quiet last year until like the last couple of hours. Max, what was it that it was Max Scherzer was like a sure thing to be a Padre. And I think that was another Ken Rosenthal miss. But the Dodgers were so quiet and they ended up not only just getting him, but Trey Turner too. So I still think he ends up in San Diego.
Okay.
But the Dodgers really, how quiet they've been about it, make me feel a little uneasy.
Daniel Semick bringing up Will Smith. Example A, Will Smith. Is he talking about the actor, the pitcher, the catcher? You guys need to be specific, man.
Yeah, you never know.
We're in a delay here. Come on. And then he wants to know how many times will Sean bring up tweeting at Ken Rosenthal?
Hey, sometimes you just got to put the bow tie man in his place.
Jesus.
Learn your place, Ken. In the Barbie house.
Oh God! All right, I like that. That was pretty slick. Hector Rodriguez comes back to the Reds. 18-year-old, 5'8", 186-pounder. Give this man a pizza. I think Juan Uribe was also 5'8", right? Speaking of Juan Uribe, I believe. Look up his height and weight when he was 18 years old. But yeah, this guy's supposed to play second base and outfield. High hit tool, but it's still a work in progress. Still has high upside there, but needs to get there. Everything else is kind of underwhelming to me. 35 plus future value. Go ahead. The 60 grade hit tool. The only thing I can really think of here that's kind of interesting was
He was hitting for an insanely high average, despite, kind of average BABIPs for the actual batting average. And then earlier this month, he had one of the weirdest stat lines I've ever seen. He had a 5 stolen base game with no hits and only 2 walks. He had 2 walks and stole 5 bases. So
somebody was playing Little League ball out there.
And just running wild.
Just running wild, brother. Hector Rodriguez mania coming for you. And then Jose Acuna is the other guy. Jose Acuna, 19. So the Reds, a couple of teenagers here. Jose Acuna, 19 years old, right-handed, 6'2", 175. Give that man some pasta. Also was just like Rodriguez was at the Mets complex.
Yep.
Really good strikeout rate, really good walk rate. So he has that in line. So that'll play for the Reds, who are always in desperate need of pitching. They just give away. They did what the Royals are going to do in 2 or 3 years. The Reds give away Luis Castillo. Oh, I can't wait to talk about that trade. That's exciting for them. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, it's like the thing that worries me about. It's kind of like how everyone used to talk about trading with the Rays, and before that, trading with Billy Beane. How if Billy Beane asked for somebody and acted as if it was nothing, go look at the guy again because you missed something. Well, I feel like that's the Reds now. Like if the Reds trade for a pitcher, I need to go, like, we missed something. And you see kind of the numbers that Acuna had put up at the complex level this year, and you're like, did the Mets miss something here? Did the Reds see something? Because of course they built that great kind of pitching development school while Kyle Bodie was there, and even though he's gone, like that system is still in place. And we saw them acquire Chase Petty from Minnesota and the Sonny Gray deal. So they're definitely going after arms they like. And of course, there's so much data on these guys that they can get, even when they're with other teams, that you really got to kind of do a double take and be like, okay, well, what did my team miss here? Because that's how I am with the Reds now.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like, I don't want to say it, but the Reds, at the very least, with Jose Acuna, may have gotten the best player in that deal. Maybe we'll see. Something that also of note: Hector Rodriguez, the infielder, and Jose Acuna, the pitcher, have similar ground ball rates. Think about that one.
There you go.
44.
That is a stat. That is 40, a stat.
Between 44 and 46%. So there you go. Well, let's stay with the Reds. They gave away Luis Castillo, probably the best pitcher they've had in a very long time. When's the last time the Reds had like a somewhat of a perennial Cy Young candidate? And I can't think of one right now off the top of my head.
I mean, I'm kind of shocked that they got this level of return for him, because he's kind of struggled, the last couple of years. But then right before the trade, his last 5 or 6 starts, he's just gone on a run, and definitely got that value back up.
Yep.
Good for the Reds. I thought this was a great trade for them. I'm interested. I'm even more interested in Luis Castillo things now, because now he goes from one of the most hitter-friendly parks to one of the most pitcher-friendly parks.
Anything in the West Coast is always good for pitchers. Anything in the West is always good for pitchers. So, so it's this year, and then he's arbitration eligible next year before he becomes a free agent in 2024. Any chance that the Mariners sign him long-term, or is he just...
they might try.
Or are they going to trade him again?
It's Jerry DiPoto. Like, come on now. like he'll pitch him in the preseason postseason if they make it this year. And then he'll probably trade him like super early in like May next year. It's just like Seattle to me already had a lot of good pitching. So it's like this trade really came out of nowhere for me. Like I realize they have the pieces to do it, but I didn't think that they would trade those pieces for pitching.
Well, I mean, do you really want to see Marco Gonzalez? I mean, we talked about
Gonzalez has had a good year.
Yeah, but I mean, come on, soft tossing lefty. I mean, is that what you want in the playoffs? I don't know. I don't want that. But let's see, what does that Mariners lineup look like now? I mean, you almost want to say maybe they were better off trying to bolster the hitting lineup as opposed to the rotation, but oh no, they're on a 6-man rotation now. No.
Well, that's the thing, is they're going to have to monitor. I think it's mainly Kirby, but I think Gilbert has some innings possibility question marks as well. Only through, Kirby only threw 124 innings last year. He's at 123 this year. So maybe that makes sense. Maybe that makes a little bit more sense now.
Well, if it all fails, Justice Sheffield just waiting in the minors.
What is this, 2015?
And this team still has Emerson Hancock waiting in the wings as well.
Yeah,
in Double-A. So you're right. They have some depth there at the rotation in the future. I thought there was.
I don't know. It was a weird trade for me. It's just like, it's not a bad trade for either team. It's just, I question why Seattle did it.
Well, it's like what we talked about. It's either put up or shut up. But they got so much flack last year for trading Kendall Graveman. Even though I listened to our trade deadline special last year, and it sounded like they were better off getting rid of Graveman and getting the
package of Toro and
Diego Castillo as well from a different trade, I guess. But yeah, I go Castillo's better than Graveman, and be like, but Graveman's having a great year, and Diego Castillo, who cares? And
you know who Toro had the walk off. Was it a walk off that they just had over Houston, or was the go ahead? He was pinch hitting for, I think, Julio Rodriguez in like the 8th, 9th inning. And runner second and third, and off Ryan Presley, and he lined it through the shift.
Holy crap!
Always like Abraham Toro. I think Julio Rodriguez was hurt, so that's why he was pinch hit for, and Toro came through in the clutch.
Let's see here. I mean, I still believe in the Mariners. I know people are kind of, why are they even contenders? Like, yeah, that's a really decent team. Unfortunately, they're in the wrong division, because the Astros are always going to have that as long as they have that core in line. And the thing about this, the Astros have that division locked up with a struggling Alex Bregman for a majority of the year.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's talk about the Reds, the players that the Reds got. I'm just going to go in the order that I see them on the Fangraphs. Edwin Arroyo is the first name that popped up, 18-year-old shortstop, 6 foot, 175, switch throwing and hitting. What? That's weird. The 11th ranked prospect according to Fangraphs. Low hit tool, but the power, he's the big time power at that position, especially for a guy of his size, is what is drawing people's interest in him. He also has 50 graded speed, and he's a 40 plus future value so far in Seattle. Strikeouts have dropped a little bit. He used to strike out 30%. Now he's down at 22% in single A ball. Has shown an ability to get on base and have an explosive bat. So, and he sprays, you don't know where the ball's coming. He has a pretty decent line drive rate, but he's not necessarily a ground ball hitter or a fly ball hitter. You don't know I don't even think he knows where the ball's landing or where it's going when he's swinging. Anything else you want to add about Edwin Arroyo?
Yeah, Edwin Arroyo is kind of the interesting piece in this trade because he has the most variance, I'd say, in where he's ranked. Fangraphs has him at 11. MLB has him at, oh goodness gracious. Well, I'll skip MLB for now. Baseball America has him ranked as their second prospect. And I've even seen, this argument on Twitter that some people like Edwin Arroyo over Noel V. Marte. And of course, Noel V. Marte is, the top 15, top 25 prospect. But there are a lot of people that are saying that, it's kind of Arroyo is slept on compared to Marte. And there are some people I think that actually possibly think that Arroyo's hit tool might, mature better than Noel V. Marte's, which I thought was very interesting because Arroyo wasn't a name that I wasn't, paying attention to. I noticed that when this trade happened, I was like, okay, Marte has to be the one going back. And he was. But Edwin Arroyo is ranked the number 2 prospect by Baseball America. But one of the other guys, the other one that got moved in that deal, Levi Stout, I think MLB has him in the top 5, but Baseball America has him as the 10th ranked. So a lot of people are saying, oh, the price for a controllable starter is now 3 of your top 5 prospects. And I'm like, I kind of like hesitate, and I'm like, is it really 3 of the top 5? It's definitely 2 between Marte and Arroyo. But I definitely want to pay attention to these guys now, because if you look at that future infield for the Cincinnati Reds in the next, few years. I mean, Edwin Arroyo's only 18, going to take a while. But you have Ellie De La Cruz, who is promoted to Chattanooga. You have Matt McLean, who is their top pick. You have Noel V. Marte. They got a lot of infielders now, and they all have like potential plus offensive outlooks in terms of good hitting and good hitting for power. And when you take that combo and you put it in the Great American Small Park, their offense is going to be really good.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that as well, that Arroyo power speed combination. It doesn't show on 50 speed's pretty fast, but yeah, so far 13 home runs, 21 stolen bases. Let's take a breather on Levi Stout's the next guy, but the natural thing to do was to talk about Noel V. Martin next, but let's talk about Levi Stout just to give us a little breather on those shortstops. Levi Stout, 6'1" pitcher, 6'1", 195 pounder pitcher, 24 years old already. Double-A with the Mariners. He had 18 starts, 87 innings pitched. The strikeouts aren't there, but again, he's decreased his walk rate, so that's good. ERA's at 5.28. I don't know about that. Advanced ERAs don't like him either. What's his batted ball profile? He's a fly ball pitcher. Well, at least he was in 2021. This year, he's trying to induce more ground balls with mixed results. So yeah, this one's kind of an underwhelming one. Fastball slider combination. Changeup is low graded, but the command, which is ironic because the command is supposed to be the best attribute of his, and he's had a couple of stops where he's put up walk per 9 innings above 4 already in his young career. Yeah. Levi Stout, though, what do you like about him?
I mean, when I see a former Seattle pitcher with 60 grade command, I go, huh? I mean, because we've been saying for years now that the likes of the George Kirby's, the Logan Gilberts, all these guys,
Hancock,
Emerson Hancock, like they weren't just good pitchers, but they didn't walk guys. Yeah. And that was like the most like interesting thing was it's kind of a breath of fresh air when you look at like, or you're trying to scout minor league pitching and you're like, oh, this guy has good stuff, but he's walking a lot of guys. Then you look at Seattle's system and it was just 1 point something, 2.1, like, and you're like, oh, okay. So I know the command's going to be good. So even though he did have those, in 2021, he was over 4 walks per 9. Maybe he was just figuring it out. I mean, he didn't pitch all of 2020. He was drafted in 19, but didn't play professionally that year. So long layover. This year, the command looks solid. Interesting haul. And once again, Cincinnati acquires a pitcher. It makes you want to go back and do a double take on him. Be like, okay, what am I missing here?
And then we move on to Noel V. Marte. He's that's the big fish right there, man. I have Noel V. Marte in my points league, and I've been kind of wanting to have a reason to drop him, but he's not giving me a reason to drop him. The reason to drop him is because he's still raw, very young. The power is still kind of a question, as some scouts don't know if he can develop that power. But here it is, man. I mean, the hit, and then the other reason why I'm kind of wary about him is he has a very low hit grade, but the power is where it's at. Game power upside of 60, raw power upside of 70. The speed is there. He's a power speed player. You're gonna call me crazy, but when I see stuff like that, it kind of reminds me of Starling Marte. Kind of. If Starling Marte was a shortstop, this guy would be it. Although Noel V. Marte is a shortstop now, he could play a different position later. They're saying third base now for him.
Yeah, I could see third base for him, or for the other Cincinnati top infield prospect now, Ellie De La Cruz. De La Cruz a little bit bigger, so probably move him off the shortstop. Yeah. But yeah, Noel V is the one that I've been kind of. So I'm not the high guy on him, but I'm not really low on him. I'm just kind of like the wait and see. And this year, I mean, it's consistency of results at multiple levels for someone that is like so young. Because Marte this year in the Northwest League, he's playing there at 20 years old, 2.5 years younger than the average player, and he's putting up an 825 OPS. And in 2021. When he was in Modesto, the low A West League, he put up an 831 OPS when he was 2 years younger than the average player. So it's kind of interesting to see that as he's gone up these levels, I mean, still only in high A. Really, the biggest change that you see between A ball and double A and triple A is both the quality of pitching and quality of defense, which suppresses BABIP. If he's sitting in the 270s with an A ball, where does he end up in double A? But the fact that he has been relatively consistent in both not only results, but also his walks and strikeouts, he's, over 10% walk rate, right around 21-22% strikeout rate. That's kind of encouraging. It's encouraging. Like it's a weird, you don't often see it normally. There's a little bit of a trail off. Now, for all we know, he could get to double A and he can't hit a quality breaking ball or something like that. You never know, like when they're in A ball. It's always the frustrating thing, and why I try and not get too excited for guys that are in high A or whatever.
I'm excited. I can't help myself. Like I said, I've been wanting to have a reason to drop him and do something else, but every time I think about it, he always gives me a reason to keep waiting on him, right? Just be patient with him, I think to myself. So he's 6'1", 181 pounder. So, I mean, if he has this power right now, I mean, he's hitting 15 home runs. Imagine when his body develops a little bit more and adds more muscle to it. And you wouldn't imagine that his hitting eye would get better, his contact rate would get better, and that would result in more power. And of course, the stolen bases. And he's going to play in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
What's there not to like?
And he's had a hell of a month of July. Batting .384 with 7 home runs, 10 walks to 14 strikeouts. He's had a hit in every game except 3 in the month of July. Just really been on fire. And 218 WRC plus over the month of July. So they're getting a guy right in the middle of a hot streak. We'll see with a few days off after the trade. He's got to move, got to get used to new teammates. So we'll see how he adjusts to that. I wouldn't be shocked if they send him straight to Chattanooga in double A. Because, I mean, you look at what he was doing that last month in high A, and you're like, okay, this guy's done. And of course, Ellie De La Cruz was recently promoted to double A Chattanooga. Maybe they want those guys to move up together, kind of, create that chemistry and camaraderie. It'll be interesting to see what they do with them once he gets to double A. Once I see him play at double A, that's kind of where I start believing in guys. It's just, I've been burned too many times of guys. You see him in rookie ball, but I remember there was some video from Noel V. Marte during the fall instructs this past off season. And he was just hitting some balls that were like stupid. I mean, like the bat speed. I mean, because he's not a huge guy. No, I mean, he's definitely not 180 anymore. He's bulked up. Okay. But it's like the bat speed is insane with Noel V. Marte.
Last guy, Andrew Moore, 22-year-old left-handed pitcher, 6'5", 205-pounder, big fastball. Decent slider. Curveball is rated at a 70 high end potential there. And the opposite of a lot of these Mariners pitchers is that this guy does not come with a lot of command, and he has a future value of 35 plus. So Noel Marte is going to be a superstar. Andrew Moore, let me rephrase that. Noel Marte is the projected superstar. Andrew Moore looks like he's the lefty bullpen specialist, but let's see what he's done so far in A ball for the Mariners. 25 games. Yeah, he's already coming out of the bullpen. They're not even going to try to make him into a starter. But very high strikeout rate. His walk rate has gone down precipitously this year. It was at 8.35 in A ball in 2021. Now he's cut it almost in half at 4.73 in 2022, also in A ball. And he's increased his ground ball rate as well. So finally, a big guy taking advantage of his height and stature, inducing more ground balls, getting a lot of strikeouts. But this is just a bullpen arm unless the rest decide, hey, let's experiment with this guy a little bit, right? He has 3 pitches. Let's see if he can become a starter for us one day. Any thinking about that with those guys?
I feel like he's probably just dedicated reliever at this point. Although he does kind of remind me with the crazy high strikeouts and the walkout concerns of another Cincinnati Reds prospect, Joe Boyle, who this year they still are using Joe Boyle as a starter. And I know this is kind of a segue, but the numbers were so similar. You mentioned Moore sitting at a K per 9 over 16, 4.75 walk rate as a reliever. Joe Boyle has thrown 68 innings, in 16 starts. He has a 14.94 strikeout per nine, a 7.08 walks per nine in 70 innings, 1.97 ERA. 3.13 FIP with a 7 walk per nine. He's doing that because he's only allowed 2 home runs in those 70 innings, and they are batting where is the average against? Oh, I just had it. Oh, they're batting .096 against Joe Boyle. They have a 186 BABIP against him. So literally the only base runners he gives up are his walks. But yeah, Andrew Moore and Joe Boyle. I know I talked more about Joe Boyle there, but the high strikeouts and the high walks with great success, both now in Cincinnati. So,
all right. Well, that's the Reds. They're starting their Royals rebuild a little already, as they kind of flamed out. They tried to go for it. They went after Nick Castellanos. We talked about Mike Moustakas already. They had all these veterans to make a run, and they kind of fell flat. It's a shame. They looked like they had the pitching rotation for it too. They had Tyler Molly, Luis Castillo, and it didn't work out for them.
I think Molly could get like a really good return too, because I think he has even an extra year of control compared to what Castillo had. Castillo has, the rest of this year and next. Actually, no, Maley's the same way. So our last year of arbitration next year.
Okay. Well, either way, they're looking to get rid of everybody at this point. So we'll see what haul they get for him. I mean, I think they got a hell of a haul for this Luis Castillo. I mean, Noelvi Martin alone would have been sufficient enough in my book, but they got 2 pitchers and another middle infielder as well with lots of potential. Anyway, where do you want to go from here? What's the next trade? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I already had these lined up. The next trade it's just another small one. Well, you're a Mets fan. I had to ask, would you have preferred to get David Peralta over Tyler Naquin?
You see, for some reason, I thought David Peralta would be a good fit. But when I realized that they wanted to take over the Jankowski role, probably Naquin fits that a little bit better because he does have a little bit more speed. But yeah, David Peralta, after all those years in Arizona, I figured he was as good as gone. I'd been saying for a while that they needed to trade him. I thought they were going to trade him last year. I'm shocked that it was to the Rays, though. I thought the Dodgers would have been in on him, and according to somebody over at The Athletic, it might have been Rosenthal, I don't know, that they were in on Peralta before he went to the Rays for basically nothing. It was not a big deal at all. Just a catcher, a 19-year-old catcher. So
yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit. But I'm just kind of funny. I'm looking at the Tampa Bay Rays transactions, latest roster moves there, and they acquired David Peralta, and they had to send Josh Lowe to the minors again, and it's right on the heels of Josh Lowe misplacing a ball. No, he got hit in the head.
Oh God, that was embarrassing.
That
was one of the worst. That was one of the worst ones I've seen, because normally when your karma is good and you lose a ball in the lights, like if you haven't messed with the world or the gods, the ball just falls like 10 feet behind you and you're like, okay, that's embarrassing, but let me just go get it. But no, Josh Lowe had pissed off the world so much that not only did he lose the ball in the lights, but the ball found him. And it did not find the glove. It found his face. I mean, right in the damn noggin. And that was and he just collapsed. I mean, of course you're going to. That thing's reaching like terminal velocity coming down, and he just boom. But at least this time, the outfielder was there to back him up, got the ball in, and Mancini. I think that was the best part of that play, was not just Lowe getting hit, but Mancini like chugging air to try and get home, and he still was almost out of the plate. I mean, it was a close play, and even after all that, he almost got thrown out.
Oh yeah, it was kind of close, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, he didn't even slide. That was the worst part. I don't even think he slid. was like, who do you think you are, Giambi?
Well, Peralta is supposed to be starting for the Rays now. He's on a platoon, of course, because it's the Rays. They
the
platoon
Rays
everybody.
are in a platoon?
Yeah.
No.
I guess I'm trying to figure out who is he platooning for. So
Probably Roman Quinn.
oh, Roman Quinn gets started anyway.
Oh, of course he gets a start. He's fast and he plays defense.
It's like little league rules. Everybody has to play, you guys. Everybody has to play. Otherwise, the parents get mad and they don't want to pay for next year. Okay, no, it's just like the Rays. They don't want to pay for next year either.
They never want to pay. They want somebody else to pay.
Well, we know who David Peralta is. I think our guy Corey Decker, our resident Arizona Diamondback, and podcast of his own. He has a Heathens podcast with Melvin. That's a little bit more of a philosophical and religious podcast. But David Peralta, he mentioned, is the third most active. How do you phrase this? He has the third
longest tenured player.
Not just that, but he has played the third most games as an Arizona Diamondback player.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
that's kind of. I mean, it's a young franchise, so I could kind of see that. And he was always pretty durable. Like he never missed a bunch of time.
Yeah, he was also telling me that kind of they lucked into him. They lucked out. Lucked out getting.
I mean,
him,
he didn't debut until his age 26 season. He was a failed pitcher. Went and started playing in independent league. In the outfield, and then signed to a minor league deal. And I mean, he's really a great story. I mean, he was just a failed pitcher, and he turns in a nice little career. I mean,
him and AJ Pollock were always a pretty decent 1-2 combination for them in the outfield. But yeah, basically, Diamondbacks, they spotted him in, like you mentioned, an independent league game. According to Corey, this was his story. They just out of dumb luck, they just saw him. Hey, this guy's pretty good. Let's see what he can do with us. And like you said, Mr. Diamondback over there. All right, so Christian Serda, right? 19-year-old catcher. You mentioned that before. Yeah. Here we go, man. 21.7 walk rate versus a 17.4 strikeout rate. So he walks more than he strikes out. So it sounds like a guy who takes a lot of pitches, but offensively, he's nothing to get excited about. We don't have any defensive metrics over at Fangraphs for minor league players.
Hell, by the time this guy reaches the majors, we'll probably have robot umps for like 4 years.
Yeah. So take your framing and shove it, right? All right, next on the docket here. I think we're almost done. We got Edmundo Sosa getting traded to the Phillies, I guess, for Jojo Romero.
Yeah, that was a weird trade.
Yeah,
I guess the actual interesting part of it was the fact that Seattle traded Sosa because Paul DeYoung was called up from the minors. DeYoung, after spending most of the season in AAA, finally called up, hit a home run. So they felt that they could realistically move Edmundo Sosa since they didn't need him anymore. And they get a left-field reliever out of it.
That's, the Cardinals, man. The Cardinals way. They just, they send guys to the minors and then they love them and then they bring them back up against the majors, and then the guy that they fell in love with in the first place, they get shipped off to the Phillies. It's their punishment for not being good. Well, Sosa, we know who he is.
Likes to hit umpires in the face. Like that will forever be like what I remember Edmundo Sosa for, especially because it was in a Mets game. And I mean, the umpire just staring at first base, waiting to make the call. Edmundo Sosa does the spinorama, throws, misses first base by about 8 feet, and catches the umpire right in the side of the face. I mean, full like line drive throw that he was trying to throw to first, and he hits the first base ump, and he went down like a sack of potatoes. I mean, that was a bad one.
Well, we know who Edmundo Sosa is a little bit. Not much of a power hitter. I mean, he's a slappy hitter.
Defense.
Yeah, because I'm even hesitant to call him a slappy hitter because his contact rates are not that high. Very aggressive at the plate. He showed some stolen base potential late last season, but he only has 3 stolen bases this season so far. And all of a sudden, he has a 29% strikeout rate, which is, I guess he's getting exposed because he's a very aggressive swinger too. So, and then Jojo Romero, bullpen guy. I feel like he's been around the league since forever, but no, it's only been 3 seasons. This being the third one, and
there must have been another JoJo.
Maybe it's possible. I mean, maybe he was,
because I feel like there has been JoJo Reyes.
I don't know, man.
That's one.
It sounds right. I mean, these guys, they just pick up everybody else's nickname. Hey, this guy's Romero. Well, we'll just call him JoJo, just like the other JoJo Schmosho. Well, anyway, no, Romero's struggling this year. He's been struggling with the Phillies. He's left-handed, like you said. You will get a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, so that was what Daniel was trying to say earlier. Was that Will Smith? Now. Okay, yeah, lefties will always get every chance in the world.
Unless you're Will Smith. Yeah. George Romero's ground ball rate has gone up to 62.5% this year. So that's a thing in his way. That's a positive for him. Velocity.
So he's barely pitched this year. 2 innings at the major league level and 11 in the minors.
Oh,
no, 12. So
good
I wonder if he's been injured or. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, even last year he wasn't anything special, but yeah, he does register at a mid-90s fastball, so that's definitely going to play, and I'm sure the Cardinals will find a way to fix him a little bit. And then finally, we got a last trade to talk about. I guess it's Chris Martin for Zach McKinstry. So you talk about weird trades. So the Cubs, who are supposedly in the middle of they suckered Cub fans into believing that they're in the middle of a rebuild right now. They trade away a 36-year-old relief pitcher, and they get back a 27-year-old utility player. So I guess that's them going young, right? Technically, it's them going young. They're going 9 years younger than they did, right?
It's funny because McKinstry is one of those guys that, I mean, I know it's AAA and he's 26, 27 years old the last few years. I mean, he's been in AAA basically since the end of 2019. He's had a couple of cups of coffee, but he has just absolutely crushed AAA. But every time the Dodgers have called him up, I mean, he's more in the lineup because of his defense and versatility than his bat. The bat really hasn't translated.
So
he's an interesting player just because he can play everywhere. He has a pretty solid walk rate for his entire minor league career. Just at the major league level, he struck out too much. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm not excited.
Well, if he gets everyday playing time, I'm interested to see what he does. He's a flippable guy for the Cubs.
The whole team is full of flippable guys for the Cubs. I mean,
well, but the thing is, I think you can flip McKinstry in a year or two and get far more than you could have for just Chris Martin alone. I think that's the idea here.
Probably, but still, I mean, this is just, I don't know. It just. This Cubs team is just a train wreck. I am not a fan of it. I don't like it. I don't like what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing.
You're tacky, and I hate you.
they're in the middle of a rebuild. Yeah, Rafael Ortega is 31 years old. That's a rebuild for you. Seiya Suzuki, the prize free agent, he's already 28, so I can't. He's going to get traded soon. Same thing with Ian Happ. Same thing with Wilson Contreras.
Did he get a no trade clause at all when he
Suzuki?
Yeah, Suzuki.
I don't know. I don't remember.
But hey, you know how you signal that you're in a rebuild? You signed Marcus Stroman to a 3-year, $75 million contract.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Royals can't wait to get. Meanwhile, the Royals can't wait to get rid of Brady Singer.
The Cubs are probably going to trade a couple of prospects for Brady Singer. I
got quiet because
half in, half out.
I got quiet because I know that it's possible with that team. I don't know what they're doing anymore. The youngest guy on the team is on the active lineup is Christopher Morel, who is very raw still, even at this stage of his career with the team so far. It's his rookie year. I know that, but
his offense hasn't completely bottomed out yet.
Who, Morel?
I did not give him long. Granted, we're sitting at a 29% strikeout rate.
No, he's a very exciting player, but yeah.
Oh, he's exciting. I just don't think exciting equals good most of the time.
Sometimes it does. I mean, I just talked about this with somebody recently who's telling me, no, we won. The problem with Major League Baseball is there's not enough contact guys. We need more contact hitters because everybody's all about the home run. And then you look at the guys with the lowest contact rate. Yeah, there's Joey Gallo. I get it. He sucks, but he sucks. But then, who else shows up in the low contact rates list as well? Guys like Byron Buxton, Julio Rodriguez, all these exciting players. So there is room in the baseball rainbow here.
Taste the rainbow.
Taste the rainbow. Oh, no, maybe not. They're getting sued right now, apparently.
Oh, really? Skittles. Are they?
I don't know why, but somebody is suing them for a reason. Maybe I think the artificial flavor is not being good for people. I don't know. Yeah, we know what we're getting ourselves into when we take a bite of Skittles. Come on, you guys.
Oh.
But anyway, so I mean, I'm looking at this Cubs team, right? And it's like, all right, so Nico Horner and Christopher Morel, and then maybe Nick Madrigal if he ever stays healthy. Just put some duct tape on him. That's your core for the
You don't
future.
even have to use that much duct tape because he's so small.
Yeah. So that's your core right there. I mean, that's very exciting. And just put a bunch of 30-year-old men around these guys, right? That's gonna help. Patrick Wisdom, 30 years old. Frank Schwindel, 30 years old. Why hasn't these guys been traded yet? And I don't know. I hate this team.
If they don't trade Ian Happ, they should fire whoever the GM is for malpractice.
Well, it's
because that could literally be the best return of a person that they could get, and they're not going to trade him.
It's like I told Cub fans before in another chat. If Ian Happ would have been playing like this entire time, this team wouldn't be in the rut that they're in right now. I mean, if Ian Happ just plays like the way he's supposed to as a first round pick with the rest of the other guys there, we're not having this conversation about trading Ian Happ. We're not having this conversation about this awful rebuild that the Cubs are making us go through right now. So, but yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't know. They've been pretty quiet. This is the only trade that they made. And then of course, I think we know. I honestly, man, I didn't know we had Chris Martin on the team. I remember Chris Martin with
the Braves. The Braves.
Yeah,
I remember that was his last. Because he went. Where was he before the Braves? The Braves acquired
Rangers.
Richard Rodriguez, or I think it was Richard Rodriguez and like Shane Green all at the same time.
From the Rangers?
No, it was like that same deadline. It wasn't. It wasn't the 2021. It must have been the 19 deadline, I think, or the 20. Where they traded for like all those relief pitchers, and everyone was like, "Oh, the relief pitchers are so good," and I'm like, "Okay, they're okay." Like
they're okay. Yeah.
Like they're acting as if they just traded for like Craig Kimbrell's second coming, and I'm like, "No, yeah." It was in 19 that they traded for Chris Martin.
Well, Chris Martin was having a pretty good year. Very good strikeout numbers, very low walk rates, and that's
he's never walked guys. He's always had good command.
Yeah. Very high ground ball rate this year. So yeah, the Dodgers did a hell of a job solidifying that bullpen, as they always do. And all they had to give up was a 27-year-old utility player,
which they literally grow those guys on trees. I mean, that's what the Dodgers do. That's why the Dodgers can get away with all this shit, just because their player development is unfairly better than everybody else's.
Oh, it's ridiculously better. Yeah.
But wouldn't it have been cool if they had traded for David Peralta and they could have had like AJ Pollock isn't there anymore, but they could have had David Peralta, Jake Lamb, and AJ Pollock all in the same lineup. Because I'm not sure if you know this, but the Dodgers have been platooning Jake Lamb and Trace Thompson for the last like 3 weeks.
I did not know that.
That is their DH. And they've combined for a 147 WRC plus.
And I know that Trace Thompson was on the team. I didn't realize he was having regular playing time like that. Yep. I thought he was just going to be there for a little bit.
He's platooning and playing a lot of the outfield, platooning at DH, and then also platooning with Gavin Lux, as is Hanser Alberto. So
I actually made a joke in one of the private chats about Trace Thompson. Let me see if I could find it really quick. But yeah, those are all the trades that have occurred since this past week, since July 28th, it looks like. So yeah, Trace Thompson. Yeah, I go. Yeah, they got Klay Thompson's brother hitting threes now for the Dodgers.
He's hitting threes.
Yeah, and Vince then goes, "Oh, you're talking about Mud Thompson, Clay's brother? Get it, Clay, Mud." No, Vince, it's Trace. He helps them draw.
But yeah, Trace Thompson has already in just 113 plate appearances, 0.8 F4. He's striking out 36% of the time, but slash line of 260, 345, 460. Hey, 36.3. That'd be a solid 3-point percentage. Not a great one. It's a solid one though.
It's pretty solid.
You can let him shoot 4 or 5 threes a game at 36%.
And then we finish with this last question, and that will be a good place to stop the show here. Somebody asked Greg in the Baseball Life Facebook group. I don't know much about Greg, but he asked, who would be who's the better second baseman, or pick one and why? And you got Robbie Alomar and Lou Whitaker.
Very random to end the show with this, but
yeah,
here we go.
No, there's a reason to my madness here. So you'll see in a little bit. But since I went back as far back as 1970 to over at Fangraphs to get an accumulation of stats, and Here's what the top 5 looks like since 1970 among second basemen now. So here we go. Joe Morgan, probably the greatest second baseman of all time, maybe. Depends who you ask.
Yeah.
Especially since the integrated era of 1947. So Bobby Gurich, very underrated player, not in the Hall of Fame, probably will never be considered for Hall of Fame. But if you look at his numbers, we'll put it this way. Joe Morgan has 228 home runs. Bobby Gurich has 224 home runs. Think about that.
Interesting.
And he had a reputation of being a very, very exceptional second baseman. I think he played for the Orioles. Lou Whitaker is at number 3. And I go, and again, when I'm making these rankings, when I'm saying these rankings, that's according to Fangraphs WAR. So Lou Whitaker is at number 3, Craig Biggio at number 4. He's in the Hall of Fame. And Robbie Alomar is number 5. Well, to use Michael Jordan rules, last I checked, number 3 beats number 5 every single time. But it's pretty close. I mean, Robbie Alomar is 63.6 F4, Lou Whitaker at 68.1 F4. Lou Whitaker is criminally underrated. His teammate Alan Trammell is already in the Hall of Fame, and Lou Whitaker, you never hear from him. But when you look at both of those guys, they have pretty damn similar numbers. The one thing that Robbie Alomar beats him in is in stolen bases.
Yeah. And he kind of blows him out of the water there. I mean,
by a lot. So that was Lou Whitaker's crime. But yeah, Lou Whitaker was always steady, but never spectacular. Whereas Robbie Alomar, I mean, he came up at the right place, right time during an era of baseball where the highlight show was all the thing. I mean, everybody tuned into ESPN's Baseball Tonight show and Robbie Alomar was a fixture of those shows because he was always making these flashy plays.
Yeah. And it's one of those things, like, I feel like Alomar should be closer to Whitaker in terms of F4, but then you look at his defensive WAR and it's only, like 16, and you're like, but he was a great defender. And then you go and look at his like season by season where, the 80s, 90s, early 2000s defensive metrics are kind of spotty, to say the least. And it's like you see him have seasons of 12, 9, 9, 11, 5, 5. And then right in the middle of his prime, from 25 to 29, he was worth like negative 30. And it's like, that doesn't make sense.
Well, you know what happened. Come on, we know what happened.
What happened?
We know what happened.
What happened? I'm the dumb kid who wasn't born till 96.
Well, so when was his 90? From
this would have been his age 25 season, 1993 to 1997.
Come on, we know what happened. He saw the other players. He saw how they
was them the needles. Was them the needles?
Let's put it this way. He
didn't even hit that many home runs. Like in that time period, he didn't hit many.
The biggest misconception about steroids and PED use is that it's going to make you hit more home runs. That's not always the case. The thing that it does is it's going to, first of all, it's going to make you bulk up. Yeah. Just because,
I mean, he did hit a bunch more doubles in those next 5 years. Though.
I mean,
but it was like from 25 to 29, he was good. And then he was like 30, when I look at his numbers from 30 to 2000 or 30 to 33, that's where it definitely looks a little suspicious.
Yeah.
Because he's 32, 33 years old, 31. He steals 37, 39, 30 bases. So, and he was great defensively those years. It's just weird that you have 3 great seasons defensively from 30 to 32, but 25 to 29, you weren't good defensively.
Yeah, it is kind of weird. And it's really that deserves its own show right there as to why things happen the way they happen. I mean, 93, he helped the Blue Jays win a World Series. He stole 55 stolen bases, but like you said, -5 defensive WAR calculation there. But I can only suspect because it's just based on the patterns. But yeah, the reason you bulk up with the PED use, but not just that, but you increase the amount of turnaround time as it pertains to recovery, right?
Yeah,
it's supposed to help you with those injuries. When they give guys cortisone shots, that's a steroid.
Yeah,
it's not meant to bulk you up. It's not.
It's not an anabolic. I was just about to say that.
I understand that, but there's a reason why these guys take the steroids. It's not just to make you look good. I mean, Gabe Kapler was bulky. I'm not saying that he used, but I don't remember him being a home run hitter.
No. So, well, I feel like the managers now that were players not that long ago or like just the ones that are like 40-ish years old. I feel like this new breed of manager, they're all like jacked. Like Gabe Kapler's jacked. Luis Rojas is, not a manager anymore, but he was jacked. And they showed him when the Mets played the Yankees the other night. And like he was over there like in his jersey with the batting helmet at third base. And he just like, he's not a big guy. He's just boom. And you're like, oh, okay. It's like, I guess the new breed of managers, they can't all be Tito's, right?
But it is weird. 98 with the Orioles, his defense improved and it kept improving. But I mean, the home runs were still there.
And it's like, I think of Alomar as, a really good defensive player. And so for in the middle of his prime, like, I feel like there might be just something in the defensive metrics that we're missing here. And if he was more like he was, the first 3 years and, towards the end of his career, it's like, I don't know. Was it him switching from shortstop to second base? Was there any positional switching there? Maybe.
Oh,
no, it was all second base.
Yeah, I've only known him as a second baseman, but I wouldn't be surprised if he were a former shortstop.
I thought maybe he had played shortstop those years, but nope, just all second base.
Yeah, and this would have been well, I'm trying to fit because I know that the advanced rate and the defensive WAR goes by what they call total zone, and I can't find it anywhere. Oh, there it is. Yeah, total zone is very low around that time between 93 and 97, those years you mentioned. And he finished with a career total zone of -3, it looks like.
Yeah.
So that's where he gets hurt. But yeah, Lou Whitaker.
Okay. He was in Toronto when he had 3 of those poor years, and then the other one was in Baltimore. AstroTurf? The ball, like, he didn't get to balls, or balls got past him. Like, is that like something that could have played into that? The infield's being faster?
But then why was he struggling with the Baltimore Orioles? Because there was 2. I mean, he has.
I mean, he had 1 great year, 1 poor year, 1 average year in Baltimore.
Yeah, I mean that's.
But I think it's weird because he's consistently negative in Toronto.
Yeah, and he was positive with the Padres as well. So
yeah, he was positive with the Padres, terrible with Toronto, and then kind of rebounded in Baltimore, good in Cleveland. And then by the time he's 35, 36, we expect him to suck then.
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple years with the White Sox, I think. So he was way past his prime then. But it's a good point that you bring up. We completely forgot that.
Because that's how like total zone would be. It was based on like where the ball was hit. It didn't really factor in like anything else.
Yeah. I mean,
so if
technology wasn't there. Yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of makes me think that, because you don't go from like his greatness in San Diego and he's just bad at 23 through 26 years old. Like that's not like that. That's your defensive prime.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is what it is. That's what happened. Meanwhile, Lou Whitaker, who was not as flashy, but Bill James wrote a very interesting article about him in one of his abstracts a long time ago. And he makes a case that a lot of the reason that Lou Whitaker does not get the acclaim that other second basemen do get, like a Roberto Alomar, Craig Biggio, and a Joe Morgan. Well, maybe Joe Morgan's not a good example because he does bring racial factors into it, whereas Alan Trammell looks like a guy who hustles a lot. Again, racial biases.
Yeah.
Who votes for these people to get elected? Writers, who most of these writers are white. Let's just call it for what it is. And Lou Whitaker just made everything look so easy because he was very smooth at second base. But some white writers might say, "Oh, look at this lazy bum. Look, he's just hot dogging it out there. He thinks he's so slick. He doesn't hustle." Well, he didn't have to hustle. He was that good. But it might be one of those things where Lou Whitaker was maybe way ahead of his time. And
the thing I always loved with him is, basically 10,000 plate appearances, walked more than he struck out.
Yeah, he was really good.
Yeah,
I remember I had his baseball card when I was a kid, and I looked at the back of his baseball card like, wow, this guy's a star, and doesn't get any of the accolades to go with it. Very underrated player. So we'll see if in the next few years this is why we have these stats now, so we can see what happened. Bobby Garrett was the other guy I mentioned, and Bobby Garrett has a 129 career WRC plus.
Yeah,
that's higher than Whitaker. That's higher than Biggio. That's higher than Roberto Alomar.
I feel like the thing with, like, when it comes to Lou Whitaker is that there was never there was one 300 season when he was 37 years old. Or no, okay, two. He had two. But, career 276 hitter. He had some great on base years. The career on base is only 363, which is good. It's not terrible or bad. And then the highest home runs was 28, but really he was more like a 15 to 20 home run guy. And then he played second base, and he played a good second base, but it's like he also played second base. And so it's one of those weird, almost too boring of a profile.
Yeah, that's exactly
like
what it is,
just
yeah.
all around. Because the batting average that people that time would love wasn't there. The on base was good, but not enough to really for people to like take notice of.
Well, put it this way: the on base percentage, that's good enough for 15th since 1970 overall among second basemen. And Hall of Fame, it didn't stop Hall of Fame Craig Biggio from getting to the Hall of Fame with a 363 on base percentage, identical to Lou Whitaker's. So again, that just goes back to the biases that that the people who are voting they have. And I think Bill James might have something here where it's not just it's racial, but it's also like this guy is so good that people just took him for granted. And we got plenty of Hall of Fame players that get into the Hall of Fame because they were consistent for a long time.
Yeah.
Without the flashy numbers, without the flashy play. But for some reason, Whitaker gets penalized. And Whitaker did help the Tigers win a championship in '84 as well. So, but again, for all the reasons that we're penalizing Lou Whitaker, we reward his teammate Alan Trammell, and Trammell is in the Hall of Fame. That was a duo that was forever together, tied to the hip for a very long time in Detroit. So, and the reason I brought this up is that this would have been a really good question to ask our friend over there from the Baseball Utopia universe. I might have butchered the name. Sorry about that. But Joey Buchholz. I had the pleasure of meeting Joey last month. At one point, we ended up sitting together, and we didn't have so much discussion as we had borderline heated debates, because a lot of the things that he said was, you bring a guy like Joey Buchholz, who's an old school guy, and you mix him with me. You know how I am. And I'm not gonna agree. I'm not gonna agree. I mean, he called Nolan Ryan one of the most overrated pitchers of all time, but he brought up a lot of things like he gave up so many walks. He has a lot of losses, and I'm thinking to myself, and I try to say, but Nolan Ryan, you can say he's an overrated player, but it's not for the reasons you're saying. and we were having that discussion, but he's very passionate. Very passionate guy. And as you know, the Utopia universe is all about, taking the past, mixing it with the present. And he would create little seasons with all these players throughout the Major League Baseball history, and even Negro League history. He finally had enough players to put some Negro League players in as well. And it was a very interesting concept. And he worked very diligently to bring results and entertain us with that stuff. He was a Mets fan, a Brewers fan, and now I go from the present to the past tense. As you guys know, he did pass away this past week, very tragically. Seemed like he was on the way to he had a heart attack. Seemed like he was on the way to good health. I guess he was discharged from the hospital the first time around. The next day, he went unresponsive on us, and he was rushed back to the hospital and was put in a medically induced coma. That was it for him. It was kind of sad. His sister was giving us updates, and I mean, like I said, I sat right next to him. He looked fine. I did not see any issues with him. He even I don't know if he was joking or not, but he even said, Felipe, I think I would love to do a wrestling podcast with you. Like, oh God, yeah, I'll let my wife know. Let my wife know about it. I'm sure she'll be all for it. But I wouldn't have minded to at least, talk some wrestling, because we were so baseball centric that game during that game. We went to the minor league, the independent league, the Frontier League, Chicago Dogs versus the Kansas City Monarchs. And the Dogs were getting blasted. So of course now we're talking about all types of stupid things, and that was a lot of it was baseball. But then we started talking wrestling. But there was a big group of us, so everybody just loved him. That was the first time we met him, and we all loved him. That was the first time we met a lot of people that day. So I mean, as you know, Sean, life group difference. So I would have loved to ask him that question to see if he remembered Lou Whitaker the same way that these new metrics remember him. And if the way that Bill James remembered him, if he had any common ground there, because he is an old school guy. But I would have wanted to see his take and just really to see how the Tigers are doing as well in that universe that he has created. And unfortunately, now there's nobody there to pick up that mantle because it was all him.
Yeah.
He was the one who did all that. So to Joey, all of his friends and family, my condolences and rest in peace. We lost a good guy there in terms of just how crazy of a baseball fan he was. We lost a really good one. We were going to meet up again. Yeah. We were going to meet up with him in another baseball game really soon. And that's going by the wayside. And also last thing, we are supposed to meet up and have a little bit of in August, late August. Our guy Jonathan has been putting up an open invite to everybody in both groups, Baseball Life and the other one, the Baseball Utopia, to come out to the Chicago Dogs game and have the Joey Buchholz Memorial game, so to speak. And hopefully we get a big turnout and send our guy where he was happiest, and that was at the old ball game there. So did you get a chance to talk with him? Did you have any interaction with him?
I had some interactions with him in Baseball Life, and I wasn't in the Utopian one. I guess there was some post that he had invited a bunch of people that I just never saw. I know several of the people that I routinely, communicate with in Baseball Life were in that group. But I wasn't, but I remember him being in Baseball Life, and just a lot of the people that I routinely talk to, they said that like Joey was like one of the people that, when we created Baseball Life, he wasn't part of that, the main crossover. And I won't say who said this, but he was like, he said Joey was probably the most genuinely nice guy that we brought over that wasn't part of that initial shift to Baseball Life, that we found this guy who also had great love for the game, was running his own group, but actually, we brought in them to make Baseball Life better.
Listen, we don't allow that. We do not allow cross promotions. We don't, because a lot of these times these groups, they're very stingy when we try to promote our group and their group. So we have no cross promotion of other groups unless you talk to the admins about it. And even then, 9 times out of 10, we're going to say, no, you're crazy. We're not doing that. That's how much of an impact Joey made on us. Yeah. Like from the very first day we met him, he made that impact on us, right? You know what? We love the passion. We love what you're doing. We love the concept. Hell yeah, we're going to cross promote with you because we like what you bring to the table. And we helped each other out like that. Yeah. And that's Joey. That was him in a nutshell. That we broke
the passion was like so obvious. It was,
we had to make an exception for him. And of course we meet him in person, and he lived up to expectations. I mean, you just saw Ricky saying, that was a great day getting to meet him as well. He's in the chat right now. And that's how much of an impact he made, which is kind of funny because the name of the ballpark is Impact Field. So he made an impact at Impact Field. But it's a shame. We were ready to see more baseball games with him. It was going to be a regular thing with all of us. He would make the trips all the way from Wisconsin. Who knows? Maybe we would have made the trips up to Wisconsin, because Wisconsin has a couple of Frontier League teams as well. And now we're not going to get the chance to do so. So again, rest in peace to Joey. Man, it was a rough week for me. It's just weird to see somebody who was there. You're making plans with him, and now he's not there. So, but we'll do our best to continue his legacy, and that's it, man. It's always going to be connected. Those Frontier League games are always going to be connected to him. So that's his legacy. Anyway, they're asking where can we find the book, because he did write a book about this.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that he had written a book. I saw somebody posted it. It was the story of a baseball polygamist or something like that, because it's about him being a Mets and a Brewers fan. But I think it has something to do with baseball polygamist. And I read that and I was like, that's a mouthful for sure.
Like, oh, you think about baseball polygamist. Oh, okay. So you have a girlfriend in Milwaukee.
I got a shortstop and a second baseman.
We plug up all the holes here. But Brett, he's the one who did it, because he was looking to say, I want to get this guy's book. And we're having a hard time finding it. I'm wondering if there was a link on that link that he sent.
I think he had only had a couple of copies left, and I think Vince got a signed one a couple of months ago.
Oh man.
So
Yeah.
yes, I'm not sure. I remember seeing some post about it. I'm not sure if there's any left though.
Yeah, and the link and the article where they interview him, this to order a copy of the book, contact the author at his Gmail account. Like,
Oh.
well, who's taking care of that Gmail account now?
Yeah.
So that's unfortunate. But well, there he goes. I mean, pretty much in a nutshell, superstations existed back in the 80s with the Mets having the WOR, was it?
Possibly, yeah. I think it was WR.
Yeah, and he said that because the Mets games would go on earlier, well, naturally, right? Because the Eastern time, the Mets games would go on earlier. That he became a Mets fan, but then the Brewers figured, well, they're the regional team, so might as well like them too, and or vice versa. I forgot the exact story, but that was it. Was because the Mets, they had that exposure with the superstations.
Yeah.
So I think that's how you became a Mets fan, right?
No. It wasn't superstations. It was just fatherly coercion.
Oh, okay. Otherwise, you would have been a Braves fan, right?
Yeah. I don't know. There was a small time in my life where I was an Alabama football fan till about like third grade. And then even then I got pivoted to Rutgers in like fourth grade. So
oh wow.
Yeah.
My dad hated sports, so I don't have that kind of a story. I'm a self-made man. So anyway, that's a good place to stop. Sean, thank you so much for tuning in for coming in this morning. I know we got off to a rough start with me waking up late, but I do thank you for your patience there. You have a podcast to brag about right now?
I think we're back on the orange pinstripes. I don't want to butcher the name, but I think it's next week, and we're going to do it bi-weekly. And of course, with Henry and Vince joining in as well. And of course, when we're back next week, and when I go on with them next week, hopefully we'll have a lot of trades to talk about. And right before we go, I want to ask you this: where does Juan Soto end up?
Oh, I forgot about that. You make a very compelling case, and everybody else as well, that the Padres seem to be in the lead, but I do not ever count out the Dodgers. I cannot count out the Dodgers. And really the big surprise is that the Yankees aren't in on him, but I understand why the Yankees are not in on him as the cash-strapped Yankees, right?
Yeah. Well, you see, the thing is, not only do I think San Diego have the pieces, both in terms of minor league and already in the majors, but they're also crazy enough to actually include all of those pieces because it's AJ Preller. And well, I mean,
they learned a lesson last year that they didn't do it for Max Scherzer and Trey Turner, and they didn't pay the price for it, but they got bamboozled. The Dodgers.
Hey, maybe if they win a World Series, Fernando Tatis never decides to buy a motorcycle. I mean, you never know. Like the domino effect here, the butterfly effect.
They asked them, "When did you hurt your wrist?"
Oh, he said, "Which time?"
Which time? Like, oh, great, this idiot. I'm sorry, I don't want to say the word idiot. It is a
$1 million body, 10-cent brain.
Pretty much, but
that's how it is.
It's like he's in his early 20s or something. It's crazy. Yeah, because I never did anything crazy in the early 20s. Not that you can prove. Anyway,
or the statute of limitations is gone past.
Yeah, I think for me, yeah, for sure, yeah. I think so. Anyway, yeah, I'm a family man now. Come on, I'm responsible.
Look at this child I have.
Yeah, man, I'm seeing her right now. She's on my wallpaper. Anyway, I am Felipe. That is Sean. This is the Total Basis podcast you were listening to. We will see you all next week. Awesome should be back next week. You saw him. He was on fire, literally on fire. Stunt school.
Oh, I missed. I haven't seen that one. I saw a couple of the fight videos, but not the fire one.
Yeah, he was put on fire the other day. So go check that out.
Austin's on fire.
He's on fire. Yeah. Again, Felipe, Sean, we'll see you next time.
Adios, guys.